Hey guys, so this is now video number 2, and this is the question of what's on my USB drive. And so that's what I want to walk you through today is what is it that you're going to find on your drive and how will you use it? And so like the last one, the first part of this will be if you are running a PC, and then afterwards I'll also show you how to do this on a Mac, and they'll be a little bit different. And so watch the section that fits you if this is helpful to you. So one of the things you're going to notice over here is that there are certain folders, if we look at the folders, that are general for everybody, and then there are some that specifically will say Keynote or PPT, which is PowerPoint. If you are a PC user, you are going to use the PPT, the PowerPoint files. Keynote is the equivalent program for a Mac. So every flash drive has every file. You will not use everything that is on your drive. Some of these things are designed for people with different types of computers. And so if it says Keynote and you're using a PC, you can just ignore that file entirely. Okay? So let me walk you through, starting at the top up here, what you have. And at the top, you have a file that says audio files. Now, if you click on that and you open it up, what you're going to see in there is these are all of the songs that are on our list for this year. Now, these do not have words, lyrics, anything with them in terms of like a PowerPoint thing. This is simply the audio file. And so if you click on one of these, and it will open up, it'll find a program that you have somewhere, and it'll begin to play the music. And it's simply the music. And so you can use that however best works for you. In future videos, I'll be showing you a little bit of how to edit your PowerPoint and add things in and change things if you wanted to change them. And so some of these files might be useful to you in that. Or if you're just simply looking at saying, hey, I just want to play a particular song, maybe you want to have some songs playing while people are coming in, you can use this bank of files to be able to do that. So that's audio files. If we go back, where do we go back to our USB drive here? The next file you have is called Documents. In here, you're going to find a few things. One is click sheets and lesson scripts. There's a file folder for those. The one that says clicks only, that's going to give you all of the click sheets for all 10 lessons that I've given you. And so if you just want that half sheet click sheet, you lost yours, you need to print a new one, you can find it there. It's one file. All of them are there. Just print the page that you need. And then each of these are the PowerPoints, which have just the printed lessons that I gave you printed copies of how would I teach this lesson. And so these don't try to teach like me. The goal is not to say, hey, this is how you do it, and if you do it different, you're doing it wrong. That is not it at all. But the goal is to say, okay, if you're looking at the PowerPoint and you're saying, man, I don't get, what was Andy thinking with this slide? That's something you can pull up and look at and say, oh, I see where Andy's going with this. The other thing that they might be useful for, you can feel free to edit these, modify them. They're here in a PDF, but if you say, hey, Andy, I'd like to get a copy of what you have so that I can edit it and make it work the way I use it, I'm happy to give you an editable version. It was just easier for me to load all of the PDFs on here. And so if you want something that you can edit, let me know. I'm happy to give that to you. But perhaps you've got a new leader, a new Bible teacher who's never told a story before. And they're a little bit intimidated and they're not sure if they can do it or not. You know, one of the easiest ways to do that is you can hand them one of these as a script and say, here it is. Just read this. Just go through and tell the story the way it tells it on here. Now, they're going to want to do some prep work. You know, read it ahead of time. Go through it a number of times so that you're comfortable with it. But then once you get to that point, you can tell the story. And it's a great way for beginner Bible storytellers to kind of get started. Maybe you have a high school student or something like that in your ministry that you're like, hey, I think you could tell the Bible story. And once they do a few of these, maybe just reading from the script, maybe then start working with them on, okay, so how would you design your own script? How would you tell this story? What's natural to you? But we all have to start somewhere. And so this is one of those tools that's available for them. I did put the sample registration form on there, though I did make anybody who asked me to, I created a specific one for your club. And so if you need your specific registration form, let me know and I will get you those files, or I can print them for you and get you hard copies of those as well. Take-home sheets. Now you're going to notice in the documents file, there's the take-home sheets. And you're going to notice here, like in the main thing where there's PowerPoint and Keynote, you're going to notice there are files in Pages and in Word. Now, if you're using a PC, you're going to want the Word files. Pages is a program for Mac that is the equivalent of Microsoft Word. And so if you're using this, you want Microsoft Word, and here they are. Here are the take-home sheets for the first 10 weeks. Now, you can edit these and do what you want with them. I'm not sure what they're going to look like. I simply exported these, and so they might need some reformatting, but all of the things are on there. But if we, somewhere in here, there's a way of viewing it so that it doesn't have all of the little layout guides on there. But yours may not show those. There's a setting in there somewhere. But anyway, you can put, instead of having week of, you could put what the specific date that your club meets. If you want your memory verse, I believe each of these, there's one in ESV, there's one with King James, and there's a page with the New Living Translation already in there. And so you can pick whichever page you want. The 3 pages are exactly the same other than the translation of the memory verse. And so those are already in there. You can pick which one works for you. There's a section down here where you can add whatever notes or announcements you want to have on your club date. And then here's the take-home sheet. And then up at the top, you can put your information in there. How do I contact you? Your phone number, your email. Do you want to give people the church office number? Do you want to give people other leaders' names and numbers? Any of those things can go into this box. And this box is editable, so you can stretch it, make it a little bit bigger. You can add about 1/4 inch, which will get you at least one more line in there if you need it too. And so feel free, you can move the items, you can do whatever you want to do with this document to make it useful to you, and then print it on cardstock or on paper or whatever you want to do. Now, if I'm printing these for you, I've got about 3 or 4 clubs that I'm going to be printing these for every week. And I'm going to be sending you text messages just saying, hey, anything specific you want in your club stuff this week. So for instance, if you wanted this for this week, for week 1, I've already sent them out to you. Okay. And with that inside there, I put sort of, just some generic notes. But if you have specific things that you want, for instance, one club wanted me to put a couple of upcoming calendar items into their notes area. So I did that for them. And I'm going to ask you about that every week. If there are updates, if there are things that you want to have, I'll be texting you to say, hey, what do you want to have in there? And then I'll be happy to print these in color on some kind of cardstock, something that'll look good that you can use, that you can give out to students. And so those files are all on your drive. So there's the take-home sheets. Also in your document file, you're going to find there's a PDF of songs and lyrics. And this one is simply a PDF document. And in it, it's going to give you, here's the list of all of the songs that we have. And then here's just a sheet that has lyrics for each of the songs. And so if you're looking for just a bank of lyrics, now this isn't necessarily something you would show up on a screen, but if it's something that you want to create and you want just a list of songs and the lyrics for the songs, this is where you're going to find those. The Bible Reading Award, these are the yellow sheets that I gave you in hard copy. If you need to print more of those, now I'm happy to print and give you hard copies if you need them on the yellow cardstock like what we have. But if you'd like to just print more of those, you can do that. That's the document right there. You open it up and it's a PDF. You can hit print and you will get those. Game instructions and explanations for the memory verses. Those are sheets that are in each of your files already, but if you want to print more copies, there they are. The memory passage, and that's in there. That document will have all 4 translations in there. It's got an ESV, a King James, the NIV, and the NLT are all in there. And so you can print more of those if you'd like. Again, if you want them on cardstock, on the half sheets like what I've given out already, I'm happy to print more for you and get them to you, but you can also print your own. The memory passage is there, and memory verse list. So if you wanted just that list that you have of memory verses in ESV, in King James, in New Living Translation, there they are. You can print those, and then you'll have a copy of those as well. Now, I did give you copies of those at the workshop. I also put copies into your binder, and so you have things that you can make copies from. But sometimes it's easier to just say, I don't know where the piece of paper is. I just want to print one. Here it is. You can print them from here in whichever version you want. Now, unlike previous years, I don't have a compiled sheet that has all the way through the year yet. I will get you the other half. These will get you through Christmas. And then I'll get you the rest of them. I'll get you the list at the next workshop for that. Sword drill activities. So this is going to get you sword drill activities for the first 10 weeks. And so if you need to reprint your sword drill sheets, you can do that. Now, one caution on these, and I want to show this to you, is as you get into like the first few weeks here, to where for grades 3 and up, at the bottom, there's the grid that has, the list of references, and then the words for King James, NIV, or whatever it is, that ESV that are on that grid. Literally, I physically copied and pasted those from the old ones. I didn't recreate new sword drill lists in here. So you won't see those here. If you need those, feel free, call me. I can run copies of those very easily, but I don't have a digitized version on here right now that I can give to you that you can print yourself. And then the weekly outlines, these are the blue sheets that are in the front of every lesson folder. And so if you need another copy of those are on there as well. Now, the next folder on here is full weekly presentations. And again, there's a Keynote if you're a Mac user and a PowerPoint if you're a PC user. Now, on these, and I'm going to have another video where I actually walk you through the first one of these next time. But here's the first 10 weeks, and these have the full presentation. So this will actually have slides from the beginning of your club to the end of your club. So it has in there the pledges, the slogan, the songs, the lesson. There's sort of a dummy missionary thing where the missionary slide would go. And so you may need to recreate your own for that, or skip that and just sort of do that without a slide. But that's what all of those things are there. The next thing down, we have the You Are God's Building. And again, this is in PowerPoint and Keynote. Now, the God's Building slideshow looks a little bit different. And I'll actually put together another video where I walk you through the specifics of how this works. But this is the memory verse review chart where we add the bricks to the building. And I'll have another video where I walk you through specifically how you might use that in your club time. And then we have the lesson. Now, if you're not going to use the full weekly presentation, if you're not going to use all of the slides that are there, but you just want the lesson portion, those are here, and it's called Lesson Keynote and Lesson PowerPoint. And then in there, if you open up one of these, all you're going to have are the slides specifically for the lesson portion. And so those are there if you want to use those as well. And I'll go through the lesson a little bit in a future video of exactly what that would look like. there is something called memory verse image files. Now these specifically are image files. That's all they are. And it's of our key verse. And, so there's one, what is our key verse? And then it has, here it is. It's another image file. And this one's ESV. And then there's a King James. And then there's an NLT. And so they aren't listed as to which one's which, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's all of them. And so you can actually access those very easily that way. There's also some Keynote files, which I'll show you in the Mac portion if you watch that. PowerPoints for songs. Now, here's all of the songs, and these are PowerPoint. And so this is what you would use if you're using a PC. Now, all of these files have the music already embedded into it. All right. And so what that means is when you open up one of these files, so Be Ye Steadfast. This is a song we all know, we're all familiar with. And so here it is. If I was to play this song, one of the things that's going to happen as I go through the song, when I get to the first thing of lyrics, here it is, the music starts, right? And so the music is already embedded inside there. Now, if you say, I want these files, but I don't want the music on them, there's two ways you can get these to not have music. All right, the first is that I have created these with no music. Now, I did that after the workshop because someone requested that. And so they're not on your USB drive, but if you would like just the PowerPoint with no music, I can give that to you. If you wanted to remove it yourself, I'm actually going to have a future video where I show you how to edit these and how to take the music off of those. The other simple thing you can do is just turn your volume down to 0, and then there will be no music with it. And so just shut the music, shut your volume off, and that will solve that problem. So all of your songs are there on your USB drive. Then there is this thing called the Word Drop game slides. And this is for one of the games that we're going to be doing for the memory verses. If you're using the full presentation slides, these are already in that presentation. But if you're not, and you decide you want to use this, you can create a PowerPoint using these images. And I'm not going to go through that in this particular video, but probably when we get closer to that week, I'll walk you through everything that's there and how you would use it. I've already created it for you in the full presentation, but if you wanted to modify it in some way or do it differently, you can use these image files to be able to do that. So those are the things. The other things that are here, there is Memory Verse PowerPoint. And if you open this up, this is something that you may or may not use. But if you wanted to just simply walk through the memory verses, this has all of the memory verses in it. And they're going to come up in order. And so it'll be, what's our key verse? Well, I'm not ashamed of the gospel. Which verse teaches us to love one another earnestly? Which verse teaches us that we all sinned? And there it is. And they just walk through all of the memory verses. Now, in here, and I'll go through this in a future video, you already have the ESV slides, you have King James Version slides, and you have New Living Translation slides. You have slides for all three versions already in here. Now you'll notice when I showed the slideshow, it only came up in ESV. And that's because I've hidden or skipped the slides that I'm not using. And so if you're using King James, or maybe for a particular verse you want to use a King James, I'll show you in a future video how you can switch, and so that you can use a different translation within this same slideshow that's already been created. The other thing that's here is the ship PowerPoint, and I showed you this at the workshop, but if you haven't seen it, I'll do another video that specifically deals with the ship. The ship is probably going to get modified a little bit, and so I'm probably going to wait until closer to the time when you're going to need the ship to show you more about how the ship works. So that's what's on your flash drive if you're using a PC. Now let's switch over and take a look at what does this look like on a Mac. So if you're using a PC, this would be the time when you can bail out and not pay attention any further. If you're using a Mac, this is where you want to start paying attention, because here's your list of what files are on your disk. And so the files that are here, you can look at in a couple of different ways. And I'm going to actually put them here as columns, and hopefully this is big enough. It might be small on your screen, might be hard for you to see, but what you're going to have here is you have your audio files. I just all I did was cut down the window so that it's not full screen so that I can show you this. But when you click on one of these, what's going to happen is that Apple is going to open a file, a program that will play your music. And so there it goes. It's now playing your music, and you can actually just come up here and shut it off, but these files might be useful to you if you wanted to have music going as people come in, or however you wanted to do that. You can do those kinds of things with that. In your documents folder, I'll walk you through what's here. Is first you've got a list. I don't know, this is probably pretty small on your screen, but the PDF that says songs and lyrics, and it's got a list of the songs for this year that are here. And then it's also got all of the lyrics for all of the songs. Now, these aren't things that you would project up on a screen, but this is something that might be useful to you if you wanted to create your own something, or you just wanted a list of, hey, what are the lyrics to this song? They're all in there. You can open that file and take a look at it. The Bible Reading Award, you got this on those little half sheet yellow cards. If you wanted to print more, they're here. You can print them, or if you want them on the yellow cards, I can print and give you as many of those as you'd like. A whole file of all of the memory verse explanations and game instructions are in there. Lesson click sheets. So if you need the click sheets for the lessons, they're all in one file, and so you can open that up and just print whichever page you need. But also the scripts that I put into your folders. Now here, I want to say this, and I want to say this again, and I want to say this often. Don't try to just use what I'm doing. You don't need to teach the lesson the same way that I would teach the lesson. But if you come across something in your PowerPoint that you're just like, man, this is weird. What was Andy thinking? Where was he trying to go with this? These documents will help you get there. The other thing that they could be useful for is if you have someone who's never taught a lesson before. If you've got maybe a high school student or a new leader that wants to learn, how would I teach this? How would I tell this story? This is something you could hand them as a script that they could walk through. Now with that, the other thing, these are all PDFs, but if you want this in an editable form and you say, hey, I want to take this and I want to make it my own and I want to put my own things in there and not follow your script, but I want to have a script for me, but it's easier for you to start with something that's already there rather than to create from scratch, I'm happy to share with you editable versions of these. Just ask me for them and I'd be happy to get them to you. The memory passages are there. There's an ESV, there's a page that's King James, there's a page for NLT, there's a page for NIV. And so if you are using whatever translation of the memory passage, you can feel free to print more. If you'd like them on the cards that I gave you physically, I'm happy to print and give you more of those, but you can also print your own. The list of memory verses in ESV, in King James, in New Living Translation, you have files for all of those in your thing. And so you're able to access those at any time. And I don't know why they all opened up. Now, with the memory verses, those only go from through Christmas. And so at the November workshop, I'll give you the list that's going to take you through the rest of the year. So you don't have a full list, but you've got what you need to get you through Christmas. And so there's a good starting point for you. I did put the sample registration form into your thing. Now, there is one that's a pages, there's one that's a doc, there's one that's a PDF. If you want one specifically for your club, if you gave me information and I sent those to you and you want a digital copy of the specific one for your club, let me know. I'm happy to give that to you. I just didn't want to put all of them onto your USB drive for all of the clubs. And so I just simply included the sample for the USB drive. Sword drills are there, but I do want to show you something as you get a little bit further into the year. You'll notice the first couple of weeks of sword drills are just sort of learning how to do sword drills. But as you get into the place where the third and up would have the grid that would have sort of here's the list of verses, and here's what it is in ESV, King James, NIV. Rather than recreate those, I literally just physically copied those off of the old sheets. And so you'll notice that these sheets, they don't have the bottom part that has that grid on it. And so if you need copies of that, let me know. I'm happy to print those for you. I can copy them very easily, but I don't have a digitized version on your USB drive for those. Now, take-home sheets, and you're going to notice that there's take-home sheets in Pages and in Word. If you're using a Mac, you're going to want to use the Pages folder. Pages is the program that Mac uses for these. And on these, you can open these up, and there's one for each week. And when you do that, when you open it, it'll come up, and I want to show this to you kind of on the big screen. There is in here, each one of these documents is 3 pages long. And the first page, I mean, they're all blank. They're all exactly the same, except for the version of the memory passage, the memory verse for the week. So the first page is ESV. The second page is King James. The third page is NLT. And so you can pick which one you want and then just edit that page to make it fit your club. You can change the date to be the specific date that your club is meeting. You've got this whole box that you can put whatever information you want to include. And then at the top, there's a place where you can put contact information for your club. Now, with that, feel free. Put whatever information you want in there. Your phone number, your email, your church office number, church email, whatever it is that you think you need. Now, this box is editable too. You can stretch it and you can get probably another line. I know I've done that for some of them. For some people, I'm creating them and printing them in color and sending them out to them. And I'm happy to do that for you as well. If you would like these to just simply be printed in color on a heavier piece of paper, and then you want to just use that, if you give me your information each week, I will print those and I will get those out to you. So the clubs that have asked me about doing this, I've already created week 1 and sent those out to those clubs. And I'm happy to do that for anyone who would ask me to do that. But you do need to let me know that you want me to do it. And then I'll get you on the list. And each week I'll send a text or an email or something to you and ask you, hey, what information do you want in there? Or I might suggest some information and you can edit or add to it as you see fit. Coming back here, other items on your thumb drive. There is sort of, here's your list for each week. These are the blue sheets that are in your folder already. And so you can print more of those. Now, full week presentation. So these are literally the full week presentation. So if you're going to use the slides for everything throughout your entire club, in these, each one has everything you need. It'll have starting with the pledges and the slogan and the memory verse and the lesson, everything is going to be included in these slideshows. And so you can just open those up and make use of them, and you can kind of run them. Now, in another video, I'm going to show you how to edit those, how to change the order of things, how you might use those differently than what's here. Feel free, change it, make it your own, but everything is in there that you should need with the exception of the mission slide, and I'll show you how that works. There is no missionary for the first week. The second week is going to be a letter from me, and I've actually already mailed those out to you, And so hopefully you have those. And then, as we go along, I'll show you some more of how you can add in if there's a video, or edit the mission slide to make it more useful to you. You'll notice again on presentations, there's a Keynote and then there's a PowerPoint version. Now, if you're using a Mac, you want to use the Keynote. If you don't have Keynote on your Mac, you can download it for free from the App Store. And if you have difficulty doing that, call me up. I will help walk you through how you can load Keynote or Pages onto your thing for free. And so let me know. I'm happy to help you do that. The God's Building is in here, and I'll walk you through a little bit more of how you might use the God's Building slideshow in a different video. But just to show you what it is this. This is the different the bricks in the building that are the memory verse chart. And so I'll walk you through how to do that in a future video. And I don't know why I'm getting that. Next things you have, lesson. Now the lesson comes in both PowerPoint and Keynote, but if you're using the full presentation, it's already in there. If you're not, if you just want the lesson portion on the screen, these two folders, the one that says Lesson Keynote, Lesson PowerPoint, have just the lesson in them. And so if you're using Keynote and you want just the lesson, here they are. And you can run those and use those just as they are. Memory verse image files, we'll go through another time maybe how you might use those. They are literally simply image files that have the question and answer for the different memory verses. Now, the memory verses for if you're using a Mac, for Keynote, instead of being one long, for PowerPoint, you're going to notice it's one long document that has all the memory verses in there. With Keynote, they're each individual files. And so each of these files will have the question and answer in them. And so you can use these then to add in if you're using the full presentation, or if there's just specific verses that you want to work on with kids, you can use these slideshows to do that. I'll go over kind of how to do that maybe in a future video. There is the ship. Now the ship, you might remember, it's similar to the house. It's what we're going to begin using in week 7. And so there's still some edits to the ship that I'm working on. And so probably I'm going to wait till closer to the time when you're going to need this file for me to walk you through what's here and how you might use it. There is songs on here, song keynotes. And so these are keynote files that have each of the songs. And so if you open one of these, so we'll just pick something like I Believe the Bible. This is a song we're all familiar with. And when you play this, what's going to come up are the slides for that. I Believe the Bible. And so when you open this up, one of the things that's going to happen when you start it, the music is going to start right there with it. And so you can use these files. You can stick them into your weekly presentation. If you want to add additional songs, if you want to change out the songs, all of the songs are there, and you can make use of those however you see fit. I will, in a future video, go through how you would insert one of these songs into a keynote presentation. And so that'll be coming in a future video. Then there is this word dropout game. This is one of the memory verse games. You can do it physically on paper, or you can use the files that are here. If you're using the full weekly presentations, these slides are already in those, included in those. And so, but when we get to the week where we're going to do this, I'll have a video that sort of explains how that works. But anyway, these are the folders. These are the files that you're going to find on your USB drive. And now, one other thing I would say to you, there are a few other kind of files that I've been creating as I go that are not on there. And one of those that might be significant or important to you, someone asked me, can we get a copy of the song PowerPoints, or I can do it in Keynote, either way, without the lyrics in them. Well, in a future video, I'm going to walk you through how you would pull the music so that it's just the visual without the audio, how you would pull that out of there. But another way you can do that, you could let me know and I can give you the files that are different. The other thing that I can do for you, the other simple solution, just turn your volume down to 0 and you won't have sound. So there's a lot of different ways you can get just lyrics without the audio. And so if you're wanting files that have that, in a future video, I'll show you how to remove it. But if you, in the meantime, if you just say, nah, this is more than I want to do, just send me them without the music, I'm able to do that as well. And so hopefully this has been helpful to you. I know this video is probably really long once I edit all these clips together. But hopefully it kind of walks you through what's there. And if you have questions, about anything, please feel free. Give me an email, a text, a phone call, whatever it is. I'm happy to walk you through and help you find what you need to have.